Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the show. Chuck Anderson here. This is the Creative Collaboration Show, and this is a show for business owners and experts and entrepreneurs who are on a journey, usually through business growth and all the ups and downs that can come along with that. And we have our big goals that we're reaching for. Some of us seem to hit them with ease, and others of us seem to have an interesting journey. We'll put it that way. And there are times in the entrepreneurship journey that will test your patience, test your confidence, test your resiliency, and you'll wonder, why am I even doing this? And should I even keep doing this? And that's what the theme of our episode here is today. I'm so privileged to have Nikki Green here with me today. Nikki is a life and business resiliency expert who has been in the international business industry for over 20 years, avid traveler, also marathon. We'll have to unpack that too. Completing 7 marathons, dozen of triathlons across 3 continents. Well, it definitely takes resiliency to do that, Nikki. So first of all, welcome to the show. Glad to have you here.
Oh, thanks. Good to see you again, Chuck.
Yeah, we're gonna have some fun today. We always do when we get together. And I probably butchered that introduction a little bit. That's always how it goes, with the bios. Let's start with you telling everybody a little bit more about you and what you do, and we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah, one of the things I love is no matter how many times people meet me, sometimes they have no idea where I'm from or what I do. And they're just like, I just want to be around you. I just want to hang out. Like, you just
Yeah.
seem fun. And that's fine too. But hi, everyone. Yeah, my name is Nikki Green. I am a life and business resiliency expert. So I help people tackle big challenges, both in their business and in their life. I spent the last 20 years working in Silicon Valley, so I have an incredible amount of business experience. I also have been on the board of many nonprofits, so I've kind of seen everything big, small, and everything in between. And I take on big challenges myself. So I also am a former certified USA triathlon coach. And so I used to coach endurance athletes, as well as I used to play and coach volleyball. So a little bit of an eclectic history. I'm a chameleon. I kind of blend in, and there's lots to unpack here and lots of ways I can support and help your audience.
Yeah, and I think most of us are chameleons, or at least have that multifaceted, bit of experience that then comes together in a new way. It's kind of like, when Reese's put chocolate and peanut butter together for the first time. It's like, oh, amazing. And we all have our own combination, right? And so I love that. What's the origin of the work that you're doing? What got you into the work that you're doing? And was there a turning point, or what was the journey?
Yeah, like a lot of people during the pandemic, it just felt really disillusioned with my corporate career. And there was a lot going on, obviously globally, but just in the company. And it just really wasn't resonating anymore with the culture and some of the decisions that were being made. And I just said, you know what? It's time to go. It's time to take a break. It's time to do some personal development and build more of my own legacy. And one thing that I've always done is do a lot of give back. It's been really important that because of my eclectic upbringing, there were always people in my life that reached out and helped me when they didn't have to. They went above and beyond to make sure that I was taken care of so that I was able to have all the success I had. And so for me, the first start was being on a couple of boards of nonprofits. And that gave me an ability to really just recharge and know that there is good in the world. And I wanted to keep that going as I started to build my business, and really starting to help those that were doing the same thing, leaving their career of many, many years and reinventing themselves in this new paradigm that we have. So I really love it. It gives me energy every day to be doing this and to see all the exciting, cool businesses that people are dreaming up and try to make those a reality with them. So.
There's something interesting about spending time in with nonprofits and around people who are in the activity of giving a lot, whereas in corporate, it can feel, it's not always true, but it can feel like taking. It's a lot of meeting performance measures and numbers, and let's make $1 gazillion and all of that. And I know my short time in corporate was certainly like that. Hit your numbers or else. And it is so much different when you surround yourself with people who help other people, who heal other people, who want to see others succeed and not just for their own personal gain. And so I love that. I spent some time there recharging as well when I left the corporate world. So we certainly have that in common. What were some of the big takeaways that you got from that time that you use with the people that you work with now?
Yeah, one of my specialties throughout my career has been pricing. And so I've done pricing for all sorts of different products and services. I've, been consulting on other companies to help them better understand their pricing. And one of the things when you think about a nonprofit versus a corporate structure is, a corporation, we think of a product and then we price it and then we go try to just sell as much as we can to as many people will buy it. And you hope you find a market for what you're doing, which is also what many of us are doing here. In a nonprofit, you have a very reverse scenario where you have more people that need your service than usually you can help. You usually are struggling in the reverse because you need to make money in other ways. You need to fundraise, you need to get donations, you need to do these things to then be able to go serve. And so I think about that a lot as I work with so many heart-centered entrepreneurs who are trying to give, and not always sure that there's a market for what they need. And so it's kind of this sweet spot between that old school kind of corporate environment and the nonprofit world to see where we can find a way to make sure that we have this exchange of energy, which is what money is, for the goodness that we're putting back out into the world. So it's been an interesting pivot and a real revelation the more I spent, with some of these nonprofits to see that come true and how it continues to transform what I do today.
Yeah. Well, speaking of what you do today, who do you find yourself working with? Who's coming into your world saying, Nikki, I really need your help?
Yeah, I love working with aspiring entrepreneurs, and sometimes they've been in business for a few years. They're usually super creative souls. They have these incredible amount of talents. They probably have had a long career in something else, and they're really pivoting into something new. And most of them stay really focused on this creative genius that they have. But what they lack usually are business fundamentals. They don't have a ton of business experience. They haven't built other businesses. This is kind of their first foray into it. And so what I really do is help them create those business foundations. Is how do we, in that way that allows you to stay in that creative genius, still take care of that day-to-day foundation that must get done every day, every week to keep that a sustainable business and not just a hobby.
Mm-hmm. And what are some of the things you're hearing from them in terms of their struggles or their worries, their concerns, their fears, or maybe even the things that like, should I even do this? Right. And because I know you work with people on that as well. What are you hearing from them?
Yeah, and it was really difficult last year when I was traveling with my latest book, and I was talking to people more one-on-one, which was great. Let's get off Zoom, let's really make connections and have a longer time to chat. And just so many people that I met had been somewhat taken advantage of by these kind of internet gurus or, specialists who are charging these exorbitant fees to implement things that they're simply not ready for. That most of these folks really needed to get back to some of these business foundations, and they needed to learn how to do them themselves. A lot of them were looking for this magic bullet, magic pill, whatever you might want to say, and that things would get done for them because they were paying so much money to these experts. And the exact opposite was happening. It was like, I'm going to coach you, but I'm coaching you at like a graduate PhD level when you're kind of still in high school learning the basics. And so that really helped me focus for this year to make sure that I'm helping people put that in place at a reasonable cost that is meeting them where they're at. And then we can grow into bigger and better things. But without that, it's pretty tough for us to get started. And I just heard too many stories of credit card debt and loans on houses and just things that were way above their means and wasn't really getting them the business that they needed.
Yeah, I think one thing that I notice about people early in their journey, and once upon a time I was one of those people too, and you think, well, if I just buy this one more program, or if I just go and buy this thing or do this thing and put it all on the credit card, I know I'm going to be successful this time. But like you were saying earlier, but without the business fundamentals, it doesn't really work. And so, ultimately go out and sell the thing that you sell, whether it be a service or a product, and can you sell it? That's when you have a business. Um, yeah. So, what are some of the things that you find yourself, what in terms of the journey that you have with them? What are some of the things that you find yourself repeatedly working with them on that help them to get off the path they're on now, which is probably going to end in disaster, to where now they're on a much better path?
Yeah, I mean, money mindset always comes first and foremost. One, because of my background in finance, I'm been comfortable with money for a very long time, handling mostly other people's money, but also taking care of myself and my family. And so I think a lot of people were taught, well, we don't talk about money, or it's kind of shameful, or, I should just do this out of the goodness of my heart. So we've got to tackle some of that first. And we tackle that in alignment with what are you selling in your business? A lot of times I get the question is like, well, how do I know if it's the right price? There is no such thing, to be real honest. Price is a value proposition. And so you have to really think through that of like, at the end of the day, you just need to start selling something, anything, figure it out. $5, $500, and get them past that initial hump where, a lot of people are telling them, well, go immediately sell $15,000 programs when they haven't even figured out how to do this, again, really basic piece. So let's break the barrier and stigma of talking about money. We don't have to be pushy salespeople, and we just need to share our talent in a way that exchanges that energy, which is money.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think a good question for the person who wants to go from zero to a $15,000 program is, how did you feel the last time you bought a $15,000 program? And if the answer is, I've never bought one before, what are you doing? Right? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
How are you going to sell something you've never bought?
Exactly. It's such a huge investment, and what is the goal of your business? The goal of your business is to get not just one customer, lots of customers and repeat customers, because getting new customers takes a lot of energy. And if you can really build a long-term relationship with people where you start with a low-end product and then you gradually work through with doing more and more stuff as you become more comfortable, as you become more experienced, it's a more natural progression for most folks that are starting out. I get it. We've got tons of experience out there, and most of us are undervaluing, but you got to take that first step before you can go leap off the cliff.
Oh, absolutely. I think everybody needs to have that low cost customer acquisition product, and then you can offer them, you can go from a $500 product or $1,000 product to a $15,000 product, no problem. But to go from 0 to 15, unless you've done it yourself, probably not. But even still, and I think that's one of the things that our industry, Nikki, kind of does people a disservice, because they're like, oh, high ticket. And they'll say things like, well, would you rather have 50 people at $1,000, or would you rather have 3 or 5 people at $10,000? And of course, your logical brain goes, oh yeah, of course, only 5 at 10,000. Yes, okay. But how are you going to get them, right? How are you going to get them? And I have a $10,000 program. Where did mine come from? The $1,000 program, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's even interesting. I was on a event not that long ago with Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi, and I'm thinking, okay, here we go, because I do a lot of 3-day events. I support a lot of events where it's like, the offer is coming, like that at some point around lunchtime of day 2, there's going to be an offer, and it's going to be like a 10, 15, maybe $20,000 offer. And I was waiting for it and waiting for it and waiting for it. And you know what? It didn't come. They had a $1,000 offer. And if you didn't want to do $1,000, it was $97 a month. I'm like, okay, so here's guys, 2 veterans of the seminar industry. We know the model. I worked with Harvecker. This was the model like that was drilled into our brains. And I'm like, they didn't do it. And it was very clear to me why they did it afterwards. And it was like that journey, that relationship starts somewhere, right? And so
Exactly. And I talk to my clients a lot about access to cash. The more you're paying, there is an expectation of access to you. And in the beginning, when you are trying to scale, you're going to try to get a lot of people in these lower end programs, but they're just not going to get as much access to you. It'll be a book, a course, or, something like a group program. But once you start getting to those higher ticket levels, they are going to want access. And I think that's been another disservice that I've seen in a lot of programs at these high ticket offers is you're not getting actual access to these people. You're getting somebody beneath them within the team. And then again, you're getting an online course. And so, granted, I get it. Hey, tons of experience. I love this stuff. But for us just starting out, let's build that community. Let's connect with those that resonate with us. Those can also be our referral partners. Those can bring us more customers. Those are our free marketing. There are so many opportunities that come from that you don't need to be like overexhausting yourselves and, giving everything in one or two clients to, these high ticket offers.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's certainly a balance between giving too much and certainly not giving enough. And so look, if I offered twice as much access to my group coaching program participants as I do now, they'd gladly take it. Right? They're not going to argue with that. And then, with the high ticket ones, if I tried to offer them less, they'd be like, whoa, wait a minute. Right. And so I think, putting it into balance and look, with my group coaching program, they get enough access where they feel like they have access, but it's not enough access if you really have a big goal. And of course and that frustration is kind of what makes them want the bigger program. They want the more access to you. Of course you want more, but you're in a program where you only get the once a week. You want the private coaching, no problem. Here it is. And so it's about positioning. And when it comes to how do you get people to want to buy your high ticket program, once you have that relationship with them, then they're much more likely to want it. So
Exactly. And that's it's really hard when we're first building our business to have that audience where you start with your friends and family and gradually you can build out. But we don't start with these ready-made audiences. And so you really have to focus on that first in a way that's as low cost as you can until that revenue starts coming in. And so just keeping an eye on that, I think is so important for folks is just keep selling, just keep nurturing, just keep building. And it gets a little bit exhausting. And that's really what we work on is how do we keep that resilient mindset in place to just keep going after that, because it does get a bit difficult at times when you're putting so much of yourself into your work. But finding a way that we can do that sustainably is what's important.
one of the things that I think contributes to that is working alone. And I think a term that really does people in this stage of business a disservice is the term solopreneur, because it seems to indicate that you can do this by yourself. And I think once upon a time, I probably believed that as well. But looking back, there's nothing that I've done of any significance that I did by myself. What's your take on solo versus collaborating and all of that? Like when you hear that solopreneur, what do you hear and what's your reaction to it?
Yeah, it's really a tough one. And especially at the timing when a lot of people were starting their businesses during the pandemic, when we were so isolated, it's kind of kept them isolated. And there's still a lot of anxiety and fear that we haven't worked through. And I really say that it is not possible. We cannot be experts in everything. We're not expected to. But as an entrepreneur, you have to know a little bit about a lot of stuff. And you can't just learn all that stuff all the time. Yeah, YouTube's great and you can take more courses, but like you said, it is so much faster if you have a community of mentors that you can quickly go ask and trust that they're going to give you good advice. And it's helped my business exponentially to have a good group of entrepreneurs who were a bit ahead of me in where my business was, so that I could constantly, every week when we mastermind, bring my stuff to the table and without fear, without judgment, to say, hey, this isn't working. What am I doing that's not right? and get that immediate feedback. It's so much more valuable than trying to just constantly stumble it over yourself. So guys, don't be solopreneurs. Like, yes, you can sit in your office all by yourself and pet your cat or dog or whatever's going on there, but it's so much better to be connected to people, and not just your clients, but to make sure that you're continuously serving and you can help others with your expertise too. It's not just a one-sided conversation.
Mm-hmm. So for our audience members who are listening in right now, we want to kind of help them to avoid some of the mistakes that many make, and we want to kind of get them onto that path of resiliency and being successful in their business. What advice do you have in terms of like where they may be today, in terms of where they want to get to? What steps should they take? What should they be looking for? What is your ultimate advice for them?
Yeah, for me, even with all my experience, I trusted too quickly and I spent too quickly. I think like a lot of us, you really wanted to believe that people had that answer for you. And at the end of the day, the answer is in you. It's your business. You have to build it and you have to learn some of these hard lessons and go through it. But you don't have to do it alone. So put yourself into a community that can support you and collaborate with you over that time. I think it's a lot to learn. So take it step by step. I also use my marathon training as kind of an example of how best to go about pretty much any goal. Is you don't go out and run 26 miles the very first time you set that goal. Every week you run one more mile and one more mile after that. And then at the end of the first month, you actually take a break and you run less mileage. And so thinking through that as we build our businesses, I'm going to push, 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 take a break. Push, 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 take a break. And I think that's not a cadence that most of us have. We're trying to like overreach, 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 burnout. That's what most of us did in most of our previous jobs. So the more we can find that balance and how to grow sustainably, it'll be much better for us physically, mentally, and also just get better results in our business overall.
I think when we're managing our business by the size of our to-do list, and at the end of the day, instead of looking at, oh, look at all these things I got done, we look at, oh, look at all these things that are not done yet, and oh my God, I got to get up early tomorrow because I got to get more of these things done. But what you said is like push, 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 but then take a break and recharge. It's something Dan Sullivan really stood out to me when he was with some of his coaching. Is you got to have free days. You got to have some time off to recharge, right?
Especially in a creative space like most of us are in, is we're making things that have not existed before, maybe in certain pieces and elements. But in order to be creative, you do need that downtime. There's no magic formula, there's no map. And so if you don't give yourself that break, you're not going to be able to objectively look back and go, oh, a couple things went really awesome. Let's do that again. Instead of focusing so much always too on the I didn't get enough done, which is tough to do.
Yeah. So Nikki, I know you have a lot of different ways that you can help, entrepreneurs, and especially ones that really resonate with what we were saying here today. You have retreats and books and programs. Where is the best place to start their journey with you? Where's the best place for them to reach out and maybe get some info or connect with you or whatever? And we'll make sure we'll put the links to it in the show notes here.
Absolutely. Well, you guys can catch me on my personal website, thenikkigreen360.com. I host Business Foundation Masterclasses every single month. They're periodic, different times, dates, just to be flexible for different time zones. Absolutely free. And you can bring live questions. It's workshop style. So although we're coaching and teaching, you are welcome to bring an actual question and we will talk through it live. And these are always kind of dynamic, fun events, and it brings you into the community so you can start to see other cool entrepreneurs and what they're up to. So I would love to have people join for a masterclass.
Absolutely. Well, to help everyone out, we've put the links to that just beneath this video if you're watching it on video. Or if you're listening to this on podcast, just go into that player on Spotify or Apple or whatever you're on, and the links to Nikki's website and to that monthly workshop are all there as well. And look, it's free, right? So just go and check it out. And as you can see, time with Nikki is fun, and she's got great energy as well. So it'll be time well spent as well. Nikki, before we kind of wrap things up here, and this has been incredible. I just love hearing other people's perspectives, and you and I are aligned on so many of like the way we approach it. We don't do the same thing, but our approach and our philosophy to business and collaboration is very similar. Um, I want to talk a little bit about, sort of the self-growth part of the journey. And such a big part of my journey has been what I've learned in books. I wasn't a terribly good at when reading a physical book and finishing it all the way to the end. I'm really good with audiobooks now, so I've been able to consume, but still and a lot of the books that I bought that I never finished, I went back and I listened to an audiobook, and so I'm like, there was some really good stuff in there. I really should have read that 20 years ago. Um, so so books are a big part of, I think, everybody's journey. So I know you have several. And so here's my question. Maybe talk about a little bit about your most recent or most notable book that you have, and we can list all the other ones beneath the video as well. So what of your books do you recommend? And then a book from someone else, maybe that has had an impact on your journey that you would recommend others as well.
Yeah, of my books, I write both fiction and nonfiction, so a little bit for everyone there. But in the case of nonfiction and working on your business, Chameleon Mindset is, definitely not only a bestseller, but it's fun. There's fun stories, there's activities in there, there's activities you can do with your partner, your family, your kids. It's not limited to just your business. It's about fixing your mindset and getting you on the right path. So if you're up for a fun adventure and a couple of laughs, Chameleon Mindset is definitely there. I've been an avid reader my whole life. I am really into sci-fi, fantasy fiction, and all these like multiple books, Dune far above like all the rest. If you want more, I can give you a whole podcast on that one. But I'll tell you the funniest story of a nonfiction book is the Christmas of 2019. So right before the chaos and quitting my job and all the things. For Christmas, my brother gave me the book of The Subtle Art of Not Giving a, and we won't say the last word,
I
by
haven't
Mark
read that one
Manson.
yet. That's cool.
It's a quick one. It's a short one. It's kind of called the self-help book for people who don't like self-help. But he gave it to me at such a pivotal point in my life where I really did need to stop listening to all the I shoulds, and just listen to my heart and say, this job isn't working and I need to do something new. And so for me, that was a transformative book. It was a quick read. It was easy. It was fun. And definitely an appropriate gift from my brother.
Aren't family members great,
He
for
knows
just
me
giving the
best.
right thing at the right time? And, with a title like that too, there's a little bit of a check this out. But, it's a great example of how to get how to grab people's attention, right? So I haven't read that one yet. So would you recommend, well, obviously this was your recommendation, so I'll add that to my list. I will put a link to it beneath this video for anyone who else wants to check it out, and I'll go get the audiobook because that's how I consume books nowadays. Like, with my attention span is about this long when it comes to reading off of paper, but put on the headphones, I can listen all day long. And so there we go. That's going to be one of the next ones. Thank you, Nikki.
Awesome.
So this has been great. And of course, if we really went deeper into any one of these subjects, you and I could easily be here all day. We could probably do a whole workshop on this thing, which you do a monthly workshop. So we do highly recommend that people go check that out. Click the link beneath this video or in the podcast show notes and go and attend Nikki's workshop, and then come back and let us know what you learned from it and your takeaways, and we'd be very interested in that feedback. So Nikki, before we kind of like wrap things up here and bring this episode in for a landing here, any final words of wisdom or bits of advice that you would give our listeners as they're on their entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, I think it's just ask. If we don't start asking for what we need and where we need help and stop hiding in fear and letting all of that anxiety set in, we're never going to get anywhere. We're not expected to know it all. And the more we can have that vulnerable moment, ask whoever you can. It's the worst thing they can say, no or not respond. Like, I think you'll be fine. And it's helped me so much throughout my career, throughout my business, is having those people where I just took that brave step to just ask for what I needed. So don't hesitate to reach out if there's anything I can help you with.
You know, someone told me once, you don't get what you don't ask for, right? And so what you just said is the flip side of that. Ask and ye shall receive, right? As they say. So there we go. Nikki, thank you so much. This has been amazing. I look forward to all of the other things that we can do and together, and letting getting the word out about you and what you're doing and your books and your workshop and your retreats. All of that is there right beneath this video. So go check Nikki out. We highly recommend that you do. It's going to be time well spent. So to our audience, thank you. And I would like this time that you spent here with us today to mean something and to propel your journey forward. Take something that you heard either one of us say and take action towards it. Take one step towards where you want to be. And maybe it's a goal you've been putting off for a while. Maybe it's a phone call that you haven't made. Maybe it's something that you need to ask for. As Nikki said, ask. Or maybe it's just to go and register for Nikki's workshop, and the link is right below, and you can do that as well. It's a nice, easy step to take, and it's going to help to propel you forward. So thank you so much for being our audience here today. Nikki, thanks for being our guest. This has been the Creative Collaboration Show, and before I sign off, I'm just going to say, keep moving forward. The only way to fail is to quit. So keep putting one foot in front of the other, and never, ever give up on your big dream. This is the Creative Collaboration Show. I'm Chuck Anderson. We'll see you on the next one. Thank you.